Hello everyone. So today I'm gonna show you if I can beat aerial powers in chess. So let's get right into it. I'm playing this with white pieces. First I chose to move my pawn to d4. It moved its pawn to d5. Now I can develop my knight to f3. It moved its knight to c6. It is attacking my pawn, but my knight was already defending this pawn. Now I can develop my bishop to f4. It moved its pawn to e6. Now it is also protecting this pawn and attacking my pawn at the same time. But I can move my pawn to e3. It moved its knight to e7. Now I can develop my bishop to d3 in this diagonal and this diagonal. It moved its queen to d7. Now I can castle to the king's side. It moved its pawn to a5. Now I can also develop my other knight to c3. It moved its pawn to h5. Now I can develop my knight to b5, which is a great outpost for it, just like e5 or d5. It moved its pawn to e5, so I should capture it with my pawn. Its pawn to b6. Now I should move my pawn to e4. It moved its knight to g6, attacking my bishop, and that is not protected, so I should retreat my bishop to e3. It captured my pawn on e5 with its knight, so I should recapture its knight. It captured my knight back with its other knight. Now I should move my bishop to d4, attacking this knight. Captured my bishop on d3 with its knight. So I should recapture it with my queen because that would keep this knight protected. It moved its bishop to e7, also developing it in this diagonal. Now I should make my bishop move to e5 because it would be more active on that square, gaining access to this diagonal also instead of just this single square. It also castled to the king's side, but it is too late to do castling now. So I should take advantage of that and develop my pieces firstly so they can attack my opponent's pieces more. But now currently I can do like almost a fork, but it will be not. With knight to c7, it didn't capture my knight. It moved its bishop to b7. Because if it had captured my knight with its queen, then my bishop would have recaptured it. But why did it move its bishop to b7? Because now my knight can capture its rook. That is the question, for which unfortunately even I don't know the answer to it. But I can just capture its rook with my knight. It recaptured my knight with its other rook. Now I can capture this pawn on d5 with my pawn. It captured my pawn on d5 with its queen, so I should recapture its queen. It captured my queen with its bishop. Now I can move my rook to d1, attacking this bishop. It captured my pawn on a2 with its bishop. So I should move my rook to d7, attacking this bishop. Moved its bishop to f6. So I should capture it with my bishop. It recaptured my bishop with its pawn. Now I should move my rook to b7 to attack this pawn. It moved its pawn to a4. Now I can capture that pawn on b6 with my rook. It moved its pawn to a3. So I should capture it. It didn't recapture my pawn, but surprisingly it moved its rook to a4, which was not expected by me. But I think that it wants to trade rooks and that I will move my rook to b4, then it will capture my rook. Then still it would be a rook versus a bishop's battle. In that they are almost equal, but a bishop has less points. But I should try to do back rank mate, which I can't do now. But for this move, I can just capture that pawn on f6 with my rook. It moved its bishop to d5, threatening this pawn. But I should move it to g3 because it can do a back rank mate. See, If it does, then I would be able to move my king here, so it won't happen. But still that bishop is covering this square. I can move my rook to d1. It moved its rook to a5. Now I should put double attack on this rook with rook to d6. It moved its bishop to e6. Now I should advance my pawn to c4, but before that I should protect it. See, if I will advance it now, then this bishop will just capture it. So instead of that, first I should check the king with the rook to d8. It moved its king to g7. Now I should try to find good moves for the rest of the moves to win. So I should retreat my rook to d3. It moved its bishop to g4, attacking this rook, from which I will respond with rook to e1. It moved its king to h8. Now I can move my rook to e7. It moved its king to h7. So now I can just capture that free pawn on f7 and check the king. Moved its king to g6. Now I should retreat my rook to b7. It moved its bishop to c8. But now I should move my rook to c7, attacking this bishop. It moved its rook to a1, giving a check to my king. So I should move my king to g2. As I said earlier, if this was a back rank mate, then I could avoid it. It moved its bishop to f5, threatening my rook. So I should move my rook to d5, threatening this bishop. It moved its rook to a6. Now I should move my pawn to c4. It to c5. It moved its rook to a2. Now I should move my rook to d4. It moved its rook to a3, threatening this pawn, but that won't matter much because it won't capture it. Now I can fully advance my pawn to c6. It moved its king to e5, threatening my rook. So I should move my rook to b4. It moved its bishop to e4, checking my king. So I should retreat my king to f1. It moved its bishop to f3. I think that knight is planning for a back rank mate with a rook to a1, but I won't let that happen. But the real question is, how can I prevent it? I can with a rook to b7. It captured my pawn on c6, but that doesn't matter much now. I can move my rook to b6, threatening this bishop. It checked me with the rook to a1, so I should move my rook to b1. It captured my rook with its rook, so I should recapture it. It moved its king to d6, but now finally it can't do a back rank mate anymore. But it can promote to a queen or a rook and then do a back rank mate. But that probably won't happen. I can move my rook to d1, giving a check. It moved its king to e6. Now again rook to e1, check. It moved its king to d5. Now I should try to promote this pawn on f4 to a queen. It moved its bishop to e7. Now if I will advance my pawn, then this bishop will just capture it for free. So instead I should move my rook to e2. It checked me with bishop to h3. So I should move my king to e1. It moved its king to c4. Now I can move my rook to f2. It moved its bishop to f5, blocking my pawn from going forward. So at least I should move my pawn to h3. It moved its pawn to h4, so I should capture it with my pawn. It moved its king to d3. Now I should advance my pawn to h5, h6. It moved its king to e3, attacking my rook. But see now, if I will advance my pawn, it will capture it. I will move this pawn, it will capture it. I'll capture its bishop, and then I can win with the pawn to promote it to a queen. I can move my pawn. this pawn here. It captured this pawn, so I can recapture it. Now it is attacking my rook with the king to e4, so I should move my rook to f8. Now my pawn to h4, to h5, h6, h7, and now finally I can promote my pawn to a queen, which is my best move. It moved its king to c5, but now I can move my queen to h4, my rook to f5. It moved its king to c7. I can move my queen to h6. It moved its king to c8, but now I can move my rook to f7. It moved its king to d8, but now finally I can do checkmate with queen to h8. So let's review it again. That is analyzing the game.
Good job breaking through in the endgame with some strong maneuvers.
Now I will just let you listen to the coach what it is saying, because it will give a better explanation.
Fighting for the center and opening up your pieces for development. I like it. You are bringing your bishop into play, eyeing the central squares. The only move, and you found it. You missed an opportunity to win a rook through an eventual fork. Your better option was to reveal an attack on the pawn. Your best move was to increase a bishop's scope by moving it to a better square. You missed an opportunity to capture a free pawn. You captured a free pawn. You won material by capturing that rook. You won a pawn for free. That pawn was yours for the taking. You allowed the opponent to win a rook through a fork. Excellent teamwork between your pieces, leading to a ladder mate.
So I hope that you liked the video. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Please comment how you thought the video was, and have a nice day.